Hey Alpha fam, welcome back to another episode of Alpha Commission. Today on Alpha Commission, of course, we're going to go over that pullback on the Bitcoin chart. Guys, in the last episode, I was suggesting that Bitcoin was very likely to be pulling back to support and that you should hang on to your hats after we tapped that 120 to 122K area, which we did call as a local target in the group. Of course, that doesn't mean that we're not going to have pullbacks, even if overall we remain bullish. We still have a realistic pattern target at 126, maybe even an overthrow to the 140s. Right. And so we still are looking to the upside as we've broken out of this overall bullish pattern here, right? Broke out, bullish backtest, kind of consolidating on top of it, and hopefully we end up breaking to the upside as opposed to breaking to the downside. However, as we are retesting support, and should the market lose its legs as the PPI data, that producers inflation index essentially is just running incredibly hot, 4 times higher than expected, which could put pressure on the Fed to not cut interest rates, we have to be aware that there is the possibility for pullbacks. And in order to get a kind of idea of where we could be headed should we lose our footing, we should take a look, of course, at this old this bearish shark harmonic that I've been pointing out for months, as well as this rising wedge, this bearish rising wedge. If we do get a breakdown on that bearish rising wedge, we could be talking, should we break from exactly where we are now, we could be talking about a pullback all the way down to 100K. Now, 100K is still a pretty bullish number. And in fact, if you think about it, that would just bring us back into these juicy areas on my golden parabola, where, of course, I did give calls back here, and I did give calls back here, including on YouTube, but all of these calls can be found in the group, link in the description of the video below. And I think that if we did get this type of traumatic pullback, that might just be a buying opportunity. So I'm going to look very carefully at that opportunity should we get it. However, we have not broken down yet, and we still are just kind of coasting up this parabolic rise to the upside. And so I do have to have an upward bias unless we lose this neckline, okay? Unless we lose this neckline that we just broke out of and are back testing, I really have no reason to be bearish whatsoever. I will get a little bit of a front run signal should we break down from this rising wedge. We did wick down there, but actually in the scalping section of our Discord, guys, I did set up a potential long just in case we have a mean reversion to the upside. Now, this won't necessarily negate all of the bearishness that's starting to stack up in the form of bearish divergences, in the form of that bad macro data that we got. However, this could give us a little bit of a run. Hopefully, it's not just a lower high that ends up preceding a bigger drop to the downside. Hopefully, this is one of those rare 30% chances that a rising wedge breaks to the upside, as opposed to that 70% chance that it breaks to the downside, okay? There's a 70% chance that even if we get a mean reversion here, this thing is going to flop over and break to the downside. Now, if we are talking about these bearish harmonics here, I think that if we do get a mean reversion to the upside, that's going to drag our breakdown a little bit higher, and that could move our measured move up to our generalized bearish harmonic target, which could be in that $105,000 to $106,000 area. Of course, that bearish harmonic does have an extended target all the way down to 93,000 and also 80,000, where I do think that would be quite traumatic for the market. If we do zoom out, we can see that we have an exceptional amount of support at that 80,000 level, thanks to this long-term diagonal here from the tops of the previous market. And so if we did have a traumatic kind of macro breakdown, I'd probably be looking to just take a chance on some type of bullish formations in that area. But as long as we are on top of this breakout up here, that's neither here nor there, right? Because we are basically doing the same thing that we did on this macro pattern, flip this area bullishly, right? We're basically doing the same thing, just on a smaller scale up here, and hopefully this leads into our next push to the upside. However, guys, just keep in mind, we do have bearish pattern. After bearish pattern, we do have bearish div. After bearish div, and while we're at support, just understand that the market does not just move in one direction. Now, the alpha fam is sitting pretty in our position here on Bitcoin. We did get a nice juicy entry there around that 78 to 79K area, where I did give the call in the group. And additionally, if we just flip over to Ethereum, we can see once again that the alpha fam is just chilling in this market as we just continue to skyrocket to the upside. Here on Ethereum, we can see the same kind of analogy that we had with the Bitcoin, where we did have resistance, 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 and now it looks like we're attempting to flip that into support. So should Ethereum be able to just backtest just a little bit deeper? You know, again, it's okay if they tickle inside of these bullish order blocks at the previous highs and just, confirm that as a bullish order block. We don't really want to backtest this area. We don't want to backtest 3,700 bearishly. But if we just kind of bounce into that 37, 38, 39, $4,000 area, putting in some type of a structure, just kind of making a fake out shakeout before we really break out, that could be quite bullish. Now on Solana, I'm looking for kind of a similar, just a short-term mean reversion, should we be able to get it. Of course, in the group, in the scalping section, I did suggest that there's this sub 1 hour play where we did take a 6% move here. And then, of course, I did give a second call off of this bullish divergence, bullish order block, hidden bullish divergence, and hopefully this ends up forming some type of bullish falling wedge, which breaks to the upside. I would be expecting a mean reversion back to that maybe, $195 to $200 area on Solana, should we be able to get that mean reversion. Does that take out the high? Does that create bearish divergence? We don't know until we get there, okay? But just under this current set of candles, I'm going to be just taking the opportunity to take advantage of this little pullback that we had here while we're potentially flipping this little bit of resistance over here into support, okay? There's the potential to flip basically this shelf into a little bit of support. Now, this isn't really going to be validated until we break out. Right now, we could be back testing this support bearishly, basically turning it back into resistance. But effectively, I am just looking for opportunities, as we have had a pretty decent pullback of, approximately 15%. I do suggest that these charts can pull back deeper. Even if these are, again, mean reversions, it doesn't mean that the correction is over. And I would just point out this last high where we did have a nice, approximately 10 to 15% pullback, a mean reversion, and then we just continued to the downside until finding a stronger low. Something like that could happen, and so we're going to have to play it by ear. Of course, I'll give you updates in the group, but that's your alpha for the day. Stay safe and happy trading.